Yesterday is almost a predicted culmination of a lot of factors that we're dealing with in the United States right now.
Clarissa Breen is an associate professor of criminal justice at Buffalo State University. She says with a population increasingly divided along political lines, acts like this are unfortunately almost to be expected.
We're looking at easy access to firearms. We're looking at a population of individuals across the board on both sides of the political spectrum that are feeling unheard, that are feeling uneasy, that are feeling insecure, that are offense collecting in ways that make the likelihood of addiction to revenge and violence increasingly likely.
And while we don't know the motive, Breen says in the last 6 months, there have been more than 150 incidents of political violence in the U.S. She thinks there's already a chilling effect on people willing to talk about their political views in public, with more moving those conversations online.
Now, this doesn't actually make those interactions any safer, because those interactions can also result in acts of violence, but the anonymity of some of those conversations online and in social media is only as protective as one's personal security in their social media account.
In the end, Breen told me she does remain hopeful for democracy.
We have very strong communities that look after people's responses to trauma. We have very strong communities that look after the needs of those communities. And a lot of that is grassroots, and a lot of that is not as formalized as it should be. But the fact that it exists is one of those aspects and elements of democracy that lets us always have hope. So while democracy can continuously be in danger, it's not extinct.
Throughout construction of the new stadium, the Buffalo Bills hired the firm JM Consulting to monitor the schedule and everything happening on the site. I submitted a Freedom of Information Law request for the monthly progress reports, and those reports paint a picture of a tightening construction timeline with no room for delays. And if next winter is anything like last winter, buckle up. The reports I obtained show that last winter caused substantial delays. At times, the site experienced worse than normal winter weather. Work areas covered in snow did not allow access. Work exposed to extreme winter weather conditions was potentially hazardous, which, believe me, I saw firsthand for myself.
How has it been throughout the evening now?
Scott and Mary Alice, not great, if I'm honest. I mean, look at it. It's miserable.
Amidst the terms and acronyms buried in the month's worth of stadium construction updates is a little nugget about a crane incident in January that caused damage to the underground mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems of the new stadium.
A crane actually kind of spun around in the back, and the cab interacted with some of the precast concrete out on the site, which caused some damage to the concrete itself and a little bit of utility work beneath.
That's Steve Rinaldi, president of the Erie County Stadium Corporation, the state entity that will own the new stadium when it's transferred to the state by Erie County next year. It's worth noting that the Stadium Corporation nor Erie County has any say in the construction project or decisions made about construction or the ambitious timeline to have the stadium substantially complete and open for events by June 2026. But when I asked the Bills about this incident, they punted me to contractor Gilbane Turner, and they haven't directly answered my questions about the incident. I do know that nobody was injured in the incident, so no report was filed with the Department of Labor or OSHA. The reports indicate slab remediation work related to the incident was scheduled to begin July 7, 2025. And as of the July update that uses June construction data, the project was 18 days behind schedule. The reports also show a tightening construction timeline, stating clearly that, quote, any delays or disruptions to the following areas and activities will potentially cause negative flow on the critical path of the project, directly impacting the substantial completion date and the stadium project completion date. Now, that's a shift in tone from previous reports as recently as December that suggest delays to key construction items could potentially impact the construction timeline. A difference of will potentially versus could potentially. However, Steve Rinaldi says that while the construction timeline is tightening,
Bills assure us that they're going to make the substantial completion so we can have games there in 2026, and I do expect we'll have the stadium wrapped up in late 26, early 27.
In Orchard Park, Nate Benson, Channel 2 News.
The one that you'll typically point to first, and what you'll see for evidence is there's actually a camera right in the middle of the side of the bus up here on top that actually gives a fisheye view for those who are looking at evidence.
This is one of the tools keeping kids safe at bus stops.
You see those flashing lights come on, you should slow down and ultimately know that if you don't and you pass the bus, you could be held liable for a violation.
A violation starts at $250, and repeat violations could cost you even more. Since enforcement began last October in Buffalo Public Schools, city officials say more than 42,000 tickets have been mailed, while nearly 12,000 violations were declined. Traffic Violations Agency Executive Director Octavio Villegas says the program is about safety, not revenue.
It is a high number that we would definitely like to see trend down.
When asked how the city's share of the fines is used and whether any of the money has been spent, Villegas referred to Mayor Chris Scanlon's administration.
That money that goes to the city goes, I believe, to the city's general fund. That would be something that I would defer to the mayor's office, that they could answer what the funds go towards. I know that the department, we were assigned Buffalo Traffic Violation Agency to administrate the program, and Bus Patrol collects the fines on behalf of the city of Buffalo. So the administration, I believe, can share with you more insight on what the funds go towards.
City Finance Commissioner Raymore Nasworthy supports Villegas in a statement saying revenue simply gets credited to the city's general fund and is not used for expenses. Across Western New York, other school districts have similar programs. Last school year, North Tonawanda issued nearly 900 tickets, while Niagara Falls mailed 1,330.
It's important to continue educating the public. Putting out the messages boards are one of the ways that we try to get the word out.
Officials say they'll continue pushing safety messages throughout the school year.
Till today, it's so unbelievable to me.
Inside Oshai Children's Hospital,
Every night, I pray to God and I kind of think myself that I will wake up from this sleep and found that nothing happened. It was just a bad dream.
Schweb is sharing the moments about how a vacation with his wife and 3 kids turned tragic.
When the accident actually happened, it happened so quickly, you don't get to think anything really, except for embracing what's happening.
They were coming from Niagara Falls and headed back to New York City when their tour bus crashed and flipped over in Pembroke.
When it flipped, it just like huge shake and hearing the glass.
He recalls watching the bus driver.
So I had a very clear view of the driver's position and everything.
Moments before it happened.
The last time he was trying to grab it, but this time he was looking at the water bottle. The bus was very high speed, as I said before, and he was now not having his eyes on the road anymore. That's when he lost control.
He says he, his wife, his 11-month-old, his 3-year-old, and his 6-year-old were all hurt.
20 minutes or 30 minutes, I don't know how long we were in the road, felt like forever to me.
He says his oldest daughter, 6-year-old Elsa, was one of the first patients to be taken by helicopter to a hospital.
In my lap, with my 2 hands, I tried to block the bleeding from her head. And to be very honest, I thought that her hand separated. He had at least 3 different places where bleeding. So the last part was her back that was almost open to me. And I was holding that back with my chest, stop drying the blood and whatnot. It's an absolute nightmare.
Elsa is expected to stay at Oshai Children's Hospital for a few more weeks.
And I'm so grateful to this hospital. I must mention it, how much they are caring for my daughter, all the nurses and the doctors and everybody like their own daughter.
A moment of gratitude shines through even hard moments.
We have to show commitment. We have to show consistency. That's it.
A community remains outraged.
I think there's still more questions than answers on a lot of it.
And a local leader left with a lot of questions after a viral video circulating online shows an attack on a woman allegedly by workers at the Mandela Market in Buffalo's East Side. According to the woman in the video, who has now filed a police report.
The man, the owner, and his other workers hit me with a stick last night.
The market is part of Buffalo Common Council Majority Leader Leah Halton Pope's district. And along with many community members, she's outraged by this video.
There's no situation in which a person, regardless of the issue, a woman in particular, should ever have been cornered and beaten by 2 men, 1 man, 6 men, certainly. There are other options available.
But according to the councilwoman, this is not the first time that there's been some struggles between the neighbors and store owners.
So this is all data, police data from previous incidents that you're already looking into.
This is already issues that have happened just this year alone.
She says a public hearing to address those complaints and now this situation are already in the works. But in the meantime, finding a space to bridge these cracks in trust between the store and the community, that's going to take some time.
I think it's a matter of listening and figuring out if there is a middle ground. I always believe that there is. I just think you have to give time to heal. It's still very raw.
Our community has to be compensated. You get what I mean? These men has to be held accountable. That's the biggest, along with this lady.
This is the goal. The goal is to constantly reduce crime where we can.
According to the Erie Crime Analysis Center, new data shows violent crime is down across the board in Buffalo. The data refers to the first 8 months of this year. We've seen a 35% decrease in shooting victims and a 45% decrease in homicides. Leaders from the Buffalo Police Department say they believe the Foot Patrol unit that was launched this summer is making a difference.
A lot of our information is based on some data that we get, 911 calls and 311, and that only tells part of the story. When we get officers out there actually talking and engaging with the community, we get a little bit deeper than that. We get the rest of the story and what's really going on.
I've gotten a lot of calls, and people are happy seeing officers out on the street. And I just think the citizens are fed up. They're fed up with crime, so we're getting a lot of help from them. They're giving us great information, and it's helping us tremendously.
Buffalo Common Councilwoman Zanetta Everhart says she believes this kind of community policing is working.
The more that people see police officers in their neighborhood, the more that the police department is being transparent and open and coming out into the community, the better off a neighborhood should be, because this is their community as well.
Everhart says community leaders are also making a difference.
We have a number of amazing youth organizations who are on the ground, in the schools, in the community centers. They're on the streets, right? And they're providing these programs for our young people, and kudos to them, right? Because this is about them. They're actually connecting with our young people.
The first character witnesses were called to testify Monday in the trial against Greg Trotter, the Amherst police detective accused of lying to the FBI about his relationship with Barrow's strip club owner, Peter Gerace.
Peter Gerace was being investigated by the FBI and was convicted for drug and sex trafficking last year. Prosecutors claim that Trotter misled investigators when he was secretly recorded in 2022 telling Special Agent Jason Camarad that he had not been in touch with Gerace since 2017. What Trotter did not know was that federal agents had already seized nearly 200 calls and text messages from Gerace's phone, appearing to show that Trotter and Gerace had talked more recently than that, and had provided Gerace a play-by-play of his ex-girlfriend's arrest in the spring of 2019 over a stolen Rolex. While the defense was under no obligation to call witnesses, Monday's testimony began with Amherst Police Chief Scott Chamberlain asking questions about department policy related to Trotter's alleged actions and agreeing that he was known as a law-abiding individual and professional and a, quote, highly capable investigator, as stated in a 2019 performance review. Other former co-workers, including Beth Stevens, who worked with Trotter in the Amherst Police Family Offense Unit, also painted a positive picture of Trotter in her testimony Monday. She and Trotter had investigated several complaints made by Peter Gerace against his former wife, Katrina Nigro. Stevens, on cross-examination, called it a fairly typical case in her mind, although as the prosecution asked each witness Monday, and in contrast to their claims about Trotter, none of them said they had ever been to Pharaoh's Gentlemen's Club outside of work, been invited to get drinks, golf, or ever was offered something by Peter Gerace.
Trotter's lawyer, Don Thompson, has told the jury that his client may only be guilty of having faulty recollections of events that happened years ago. Additional character witnesses are expected to testify on Tuesday. Reporting on your side outside Buffalo Federal Court, Rob Hackford, Channel 2 News.
Court records show former Sabre Adam Mayer was arrested September 4th in Pittsford near Rochester. Monroe County Sheriff's deputies say the 46-year-old rear-ended another car while driving a BMW with 3 children inside. Mayer now faces multiple felonies and misdemeanors under Leandra's law, including aggravated DWI with a child in the car and endangering the welfare of a child. A sheriff's deputy wrote in his report, quote, "While speaking with Adam, I could smell a strong odor of alcohol. His speech was slow and mumbled, and he was using the passenger door to support himself." Deputies say Mayer initially refused a breath test, then later blew a .20, more than twice the legal limit. The Sabres confirmed Thursday they placed Mayer, their Director of Player Development, on administrative leave. Sabres VP of Communications Nicole Hendricks said in a statement, quote, "We are aware of the situation involving Adam Mayer. He has been placed on administrative leave. We will have no further comment at this time."
While investing in the future of football is the name of the game here in Toronto today. And that collaboration between the Buffalo Bills and Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment promises to do just that. A youth football clinic today kicked off that partnership. 200 kids took part in the first of many clinics that will take place here. And it's not just clinics. The collaboration also promises exclusive fan apparel and official watch parties. Bills officials say that their ability to help grow the love for the game just a few miles north is what made this partnership a no-brainer.
I think we get a lot. I mean, Toronto's the second biggest media market in North America. I mean, this is a place that we have a lot of Bills fans right now, and we'd like to inspire the next generation.
I also have a young 8-year-old who's playing flag football, so I know, and dare I say, I'm helping coach a team, but like you get to see the excitement and you get to shape and mold them through sports.
Joining Vince Carter was fellow Raptors legend and Bills Limited owner Tracy McGrady and former Bill Doug Flutie. Now the question of if we could see a Bills game here at BMO Stadium, well, the Bills said that they're not ruling that out, but they do have a brand new stadium to focus on back at home right now. On your side in Toronto, Alyssa Clausel, Channel 2 News.
The Bud Bakewell Ice Arena is the home of inspiration. Inspiration in the form of a group of athletes like no other. Spirited athletes, bold at heart, shares the building and the ice, providing recreational opportunities for people dealing with developmental and physical challenges. And on this day, they were also sharing the ice with one of our nation's top military leaders.
Go Bills!
U.S. Navy Rear Admiral
and
Robert Worth.
Don't forget the Sabres.
Admiral Worth and his wife Stacy are in Western New York for a visit home. They're both Grand Island natives and high school sweethearts.
We started dating, it seems like yesterday, but 1988, and I think it's been close to about 37 years of dating.
Now, whenever a top-ranking officer visits a city, they make a point of adding a stop at a location or with a group that means a lot to them. And for Admiral Worth, there was never a question.
I still look back fondly on my time with Saba, and looking forward to a great day today with some of the players and skating.
I just thought it was incredible that somebody who had volunteered so long ago, and not only that, but has had such an incredible career and all around the world, remembered Saba and had such an incredible memory of his time volunteering.
He hopes to deliver some words of inspiration to these local skaters, but in his heart, he knows he's the one who will be left inspired.
Just meeting all the players today, there's a great team vibe. You know, you think about, that's what Buffalo infuses in you. You know, you got the Sabres, you got the Bills. It's a team atmosphere and one of family.
On Lakeshore Road in Angola, just steps away from the beach, there is a family-run spot drawing crowds from all over Western New York.
The name of the tilted taco, my son came up with that name because he says when you eat a taco, you tilt your head, so you tilt the taco. That's how we came up with the name.
Edmundo Estrada's family business started as a pop-up food stand before moving into this location early last year.
I wanted to bring a truly authentic Mexican food. Not a Tex-Mex, no variation, flavors that I grew up with.
Best sellers include chimichangas, burritos, and rice bowls. This month, a special dish honors Mexican Independence Day.
September 16 isn't Mexican Independence Day, actual Independence Day. Cinco de Mayo is another thing that everybody celebrates, which is fine, I love it. But actual Mexican Independence Day is September 16, and Mexico celebrates their independence. And I wanted to come up with something different, something commemorate.
He came up with a chimichanga topped with queso, salsa verde, sour cream, and smoky red salsa, matching the colors of the Mexican flag.
Everything is made with a lot of passion, love, and obviously I try to incorporate Mexican flavors 100%.
His daughter Erica says what keeps customers coming back is more than just the food.
He takes time, even when we have 30 tickets, orders, he likes to come out and make sure everyone's okay and have like a conversation with each customer, and I think that like separates from a lot of like other different restaurants, and I think that's why people always come back.
Tilted Taco is at 9544 Lakeshore Road in Angola. They're open every day from noon to 9 and closed on Wednesdays.
More than anything, what means to me is the appreciation that they give me, the love that people give me. So in return, I provide you with something that I enjoy, which is my cooking and my passion for the food. And that inspires me every day.
Well, many of us can certainly recall what we saw and encountered 24 years ago today on September 11, 2001. But for Channel 2 broadcast engineer Bill Gatzik, it is deeply personal. He was working in Manhattan that fateful day, 4 blocks from the Twin Towers. He spoke earlier today with Channel 2's Ron Plants with his very vivid memories.
I was working for AT&T Digital Media Centers at the time.
And you told me 4 blocks, what was the address?
About 4 blocks away, it was 19 Battery Park.
What happened to the signal? They had towers on top of the buildings, correct?
Yeah, we lost, when the first tower went down, we lost our signal briefly, and I guess something must have rerouted or something. But when the second tower went down, we were basically dead in the water. I saw the tower on fire. It was as if one of those Godzilla movies where something had just taken a bite out of the side of the building, and you could see the flames shooting out of the side of the building, and the whole building was standing, except for this one portion, which was burning.
A second airplane, a 727 just ran into the building. Oh my God!
I saw the first one collapse, but I was outside when the second one collapsed, and when the second one collapsed, the dust plume would come, much like the eclipse we had a year ago, where it got progressively darker and darker and darker until it seemed like midnight. I came home. Like, you see the pictures of the people running around in the picture. I was one of those people. It was all covered in its white dust. There was no cell phone service at the time. So we had no way of communicating. I thought that New Manhattan was under attack. We had no way of knowing what it was, that it was a terrorist act. We thought it was an act of war. And many people thought that this was including myself, thought that this was their last moments on Earth. I lived in Brooklyn at the time, which was only about a 12-mile route directly, but all of the East River crossings were closed, all the West River, everything was closed. Basically, Manhattan Island was literally isolated. I had to go all the way up north from lower Manhattan into Connecticut onto I-95 to make a U-turn, and then I came down I-95 back in through Queens, and it took me it was maybe a 50-mile route.
Bill is covered by the 9/11 Health Fund for any medical issues that he may face, so he is concerned about funding issues for that particular program.